Fort LaGrange Road. You're looking at least a 2 or 3 minute delay there right now. Inbound Kennedy, traffic's heavy Cumberland to Central and North Avenue to the Burns Circle. It's 30 minutes, so O'Hare to downtown, much quicker in the express lanes. Outbound 23 minutes downtown to the airport. The delays from Foster to Harlem. Inbound Eisenhower, traffic hits the brakes North Avenue to the Tri-State. Mannheim to Des Plaines Avenue and Western into the Circle. It's 38 minutes, 390 to downtown. Outbound 32. Stevenson, 30 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. And Ryan, 20 minutes from 95th to downtown. That's traffic. I'm Jim Helamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Worried about basement flooding? Time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, and your official Chicagoland weather forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Cloudy skies, some snow and rain by this afternoon. Little or no accumulation, the high today 40. Snow tonight, little or no accumulation, low 33. A couple of snow showers around for tomorrow, the high tomorrow at 37. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
33 at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Continuous news coverage at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I want to talk more about and understand more about vaccines, particularly the mRNA vaccines. We talked to Alex Berenson last week, and he is not alone in suggesting that, he is under 50 years old. He doesn't feel any real urgency about getting the vaccine, number one. Number two, he said his school-age children will not be taking the vaccine. Because there's just not enough of support, evidence, experience, knowledge about mRNA vaccines compared to the relatively infinitesimal risk that his children would get sick from COVID, would get infected and would get sick. And it's interesting because there's just more scientific development in this area. News out yesterday that a potential vaccine for multiple sclerosis is now within sight. Yeah.
Oh, Dan, that is huge news.
Well, I don't want to overstate it. I'm just reporting. This is way beyond my expertise. Potential vaccine for multiple sclerosis. This is being reported by was reported in Science Magazine. It was tweeted out by an epidemiologist we spoke with the other week, Eric Feigl-Ding. Potential vaccine for multiple sclerosis now within sight on the horizon. It's an mRNA vaccine by BioNTech, the maker of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Study in mice shows great promise for improving symptoms and stopping MS progression.
Oh, wow.
So, just this whole sort of topic area of vaccines, not limited to COVID, but including COVID, and whether this mRNA category of vaccine development in COVID and perhaps to treat other maladies, it shows the sort of promise that many are suggesting. Well, let's talk to an expert since we aren't experts. And we're pleased to be joined again by our friend Dr. Roger Klein, who is an expert with the Regulatory Transparency Project's FDA and Health Working Group, former director of molecular oncology at the Cleveland Clinic, and former advisor to the FDA, CDC, CMS, HHS. Dr. Klein, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hi, Dan. Hi.
So talk to us about mRNA vaccines and respond to the concerns raised by Alex Berenson and others saying, there's just not enough of a track record with these vaccines for me to feel comfortable.
Yeah, so first of all, mRNA is a newer technology for delivering the vehicle for basically the vehicle for producing the proteins that are central or core to the vaccine in creating an immune response within your body. Basically, we've essentially given parts of a virus to a person, and then that person can develop immunity to those parts without getting infected. And we've done this historically in the earliest forms by taking attenuated or less strong versions of active viruses. Look at smallpox and cowpox, and that's how we had to do it at first when we couldn't manipulate the proteins at the molecular level. But this is it's really a great innovation in the sense that it appears to play to be significant in terms of increasing the flexibility for creating vaccines, and then also reducing the time it takes for development, bringing them to market, et cetera. So very exciting. Also, you did mention cancer, which is another area in which vaccines are gaining increasing importance and promise. Now, with respect to Alex Berenson, he's great. I really enjoy hearing him. First of all, these vaccines are not authorized for children.
Right.
In my view, I don't see at this point a reason to vaccinate children. It's not because they're mRNA. First of all, again, they're not authorized. They weren't tested in children. I think one was 16 years old and above, the other was 18. But these kids that really don't get sick. I can tell you, my whole family just had it. I'm kind of I've gotten over it. I'm sort of ending it. And my daughter had it for what, an hour a day. She really didn't have much of anything significant. And she was in the hospital a couple of years ago when she was 12 or she wasn't in the hospital. She was at home for 17 or 19 days with the flu B. So
wow.
I don't really think that it's essential for
children.
Quite frankly,
but you understand where politicians, including those that run school districts, are. I mean, we had this announcement from the superintendent of the LA Unified School District this week that when they get around to having vaccines for children, it will be required in order to attend public school in LA.
Yeah, I mean, they can have that. That's going to take a while, but I think that they'll need to have full approvals in clinical trials, and it may end up in different types of clinical trials that will, and maybe a regulatory process that's more aligned with what we've done in the past. I don't think that people are going to be rushing to produce a vaccine for children. Look, in my view, and policies change now, the direction to the right way. What we need to do is vaccinate older people. I'd say probably 60 and above, 65 and above, great place to start, and prevent the serious illnesses and deaths. And then, look, like Alex Berenson under 50. For me, I would recommend it. I'd recommend it from somebody who's 40 to 60 probably. Under 40, it's hit or miss. I mean, I don't think it's going to do harm. For the vast majority of people, it'll be uncomfortable. You might not feel well for a couple of days. And some people do get seriously ill under 40 years old. I think 40 to 60, you see more of it. In general, though, it's most important to vaccinate the older folks. I mean, for me, it was relatively indistinguishable from the types of upper respiratory infections that I've had in the past.
Well, Roger, I'm glad you're better.
Some ways worse.
Yeah.
Some ways worse. Oh, yeah. Some ways it was worse. Some ways it was better. Easier. It wasn't as severe as what I had 2 years ago.
Wow. Well, let's talk about, the vaccination process and who's playing God here. Because in Oregon and now in Arizona, they're vaccinating teachers before they're vaccinating people 65 and older. And some of these teachers are as young as 21 years old and they're perfectly healthy. Doesn't that seem like a waste?
It's unjustifiable. I think the original plans were just simply wrong-headed. What we need to do is vaccinate the older and vulnerable people. And initially what CDC did was they recommended this sort of large amorphous category of essential workers ahead of older people. And, they did it for, believe it or not, for social justice reasons. So, you're talking about vaccinating potentially some, 25-year-old ahead of his, 70-year-old grandmother. It doesn't make any sense. And the guidelines and the recommendations have now changed. I think we need to focus on reducing deaths in serious illnesses. We're never going to escape illnesses. We won't escape infections. This may be with us permanently as a part of our natural flora. As soon as we build up, or not natural flora, but natural repertoire of viral infections. And as we build up immunity to it, as we see it, it's not going to be different than other types of or other types of respiratory infections that we get. For most people, the risk is extremely low. It's run through my building as elderly people. And look, a 94-year-old woman died from it. It's very serious if you're old. It can take a big toll out of you, and I think we need to treat it seriously and carefully, but it's really, the danger is mostly in the older people. And once we vaccinate these folks, this is over as a public health crisis. It's not over, but it is. I would think
yes. As a public health crisis, maybe not. Yeah, as a public health crisis, maybe not as a political crisis.
It is over. Once people stop dying from it, and once we don't see these numbers of deaths and the hospitalizations plummet, this is done. It's not done as an illness. It's going to be with us. People are going to get sick, and it's not pleasant. I wouldn't go out looking for it, but in my view, it's still not outside the realm of what we see with other respiratory infections like influenza, and I think and this is very much age related.
What the new data out from the CDC this week, as it pertains to asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic individuals, 25% of the cases asymptomatic, they say, 34% pre-symptomatic. What do those numbers, so 60% of people don't know they have it, is essentially what the CDC is saying. So what does that say to everything that we've done and in some places continue to do with respect to the testing and tracing mantra as well as lockdowns?
Look, I think if you have family members at risk, that sort of thing, it's very important to understand that you can spread it. But what it suggests is that there's very little we can do about it. It's extremely contagious. We're getting new variants that are even more contagious. I personally was locked in my residence for 9 months. I do a lot of work remotely. I would mostly go out to go to the grocery store. When I went out of my residence into a public place, everybody's always wearing these, quote, face coverings. I wore an N95 mask. I have no clue how I got it, perhaps from my wife. She always covered her face everywhere. I don't think that there's a lot that we can do to eliminate this. I've never believed that, and so I think it's the most important thing is to try your best with hygiene measures. Look, if you want to wear face coverings, it's fine. I'm skeptical that they do much. Much of the country's under orders to do that, and it still seems to be spreading rampantly. But anyway, there just isn't that much we can do. That what's really important is that the risk for most people is very low, and it's not that you won't get infected. It's just the risk of a serious infection. It's age related, but it's very low, and the fear of it. When you get it, the fear of it, I think, is in some respects, it really compounds the disease significantly. I think
people have panic attacks when they get it. They're going to the ER because they're so freaked out because our government has scared them into submission that they actually think that they're dying.
Exactly. When you don't feel it, so you go to sleep and you got chest congestion, you're having difficulty, your head's all stuffed, and you say to yourself, "Oh, am I going to wake up?" And I think that the media, unfortunately, has done a disservice by not portraying this honestly for most people.
Yeah,
and I think it's really important.
Yeah, how do I go to sleep? No. I asked, do I want to wake up? Not am I going to? So I have one more question about vaccines, because now we're getting some data on efficacy in terms of real-world implementation, real-world practice. And it seems that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine has a more is significantly more effective for those over the age of 55 than the Moderna vaccine, like by 10 percentage points, which is, again, not insubstantial. Oh, do we lose Roger?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I wanted to know if it matters if you take the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. I guess I'll just go by these percentages that are being reported.
I'm going to wait for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because that's just one shot instead of two. And that's close to being approved.
Okay.
For emergency use. Okay.
We appreciate Dr. Roger Klein joining us. We're
glad that he's better. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
My dad and I's faith-focused mortgage team has been telling our story to the best radio audiences across the country for a while now. We've gotten to take care of thousands of families, and these are some messages some of those families were nice enough to leave with their radio station.
I thought, you know what, I'm going to give Ryan a call just to see if it makes sense. Interest rates had fallen so drastically that we were able to save hundreds of additional dollars off of our mortgage. So it's been such a blessing to our family in this time of when the pandemic has hit us hard. And it just was a reminder that God can work in little ways, even like a refi. They make it so simple and easy. It's just always such a joy to talk to them. You can tell that they just love what they do and that they're just excited. They have the same values as us. We knew we could trust them. It was just a great experience all around.
We are United Faith Mortgage.
We pay your appraisal fees, up to $500. That's out-of-pocket money.
United Mortgage Corp, Melbourne, New York. NMLS number 1330. Ryan Brecka, NMLS number 65233. For all licensing information, go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept